Today I have an opportunity to talk to Dr. Adam Brandt, Assistant Professor of Biology, and we want to talk about some of the triumphs that we're having here at St. Norbert College, in spite of the fact that things have now gone from face-to-face courses to online during this unprecedented time in teaching and learning. Dr. Brandt, how did you feel when you found out your courses that were mainly face-to-face were going to go online?
I actually was not that worried. I've been kind of testing out different tools, just trying to beef up um, uh, digital literacy among my students anyway. So I even had a Google Hangouts classroom ready to go before this even was announced, because I was planning on like snow days and stuff and not being able to be on campus for random things. So when the announcement came down, we had already had conversations about this is how the class is going to roll, and nothing's really going to change. Assignments were going to be turned in the same way. I use Moodle really heavily, so I was in a really good place to just not be in person. It was not much different, actually.
That was a nice feeling then for you to be somewhat prepared, and students then were somewhat prepared because they were already used to using some of the tech tools, I'm guessing, at this point. Can you talk about some of the ways maybe that this course, your face-to-face course, though, did end up changing when you went online?
Yeah, so the biggest change was maintaining some level of synchronous activity. If this was an online course, they had gone in with the anticipation of I'm going to be in an online course, I'm going to be doing this from home. They could have had their schedule set up appropriately, they could have their spaces, but realizing that they weren't prepared for that, I had to sort of be a blend of synchronous and asynchronous, allowing them different options, different ways to engage with the material, different ways to just get things done, because I realized this isn't the best circumstances for an online course. So I did things like I run my classes synchronously with Google Meets. So we meet at the normal time. The lectures run just as they would. Normally, labs I shifted to an asynchronous so that I maybe do a recorded video or something like that with a tutorial, something to introduce them to the content, but then they can work on that lab however they see. Because finding that 2-hour chunk of time to just sit down where there's no distractions, no dogs barking, no parents interrupting, it can be difficult. And then on top of that, I have some students. I have one in California. I have a couple, in the Eastern time zone. And one of the first things I did just was survey where they were, and they're much further spread out than I had anticipated. So dealing with time changes and that sort of thing, I wanted to make sure that they, weren't trying to get up for class at 5 o'clock in the morning, or if they had to work, which a lot of them are nurses, CNAs, that sort of thing, or the only people working in their family, that they can still engage with material and not fall behind because they couldn't make that online specific synchronous time.
I'm sure the students really appreciated the fact that you reached out to them, you surveyed them, they were able to give you what was going to work for them, which then it sounds to me like student engagement is really important to you. And you talked about that you have a Google Meet. Can you talk a little bit more about that? How do you implement that, and how do you facilitate that?
So I run it pretty much like a regular class. So I have, everybody signs in at the same time. I have a static link. So rather than creating like individual meetings, I just have a static link in my Moodle page that's our classroom, air quotes, classroom. And anytime we need to meet for class, anytime they want to do group work or anything, they can use that link. It's like an existing classroom in perpetuity. So they log in at the start of class. I have slides pulled up. I do screen share. I have the external monitor, so I just share that whole second monitor with them, so that on my main computer I can see them. I just recently found the grid view on Meet, so that I can see all of them simultaneously, which has changed things a lot. So even though they're not answering questions all the time, I can still maintain the nod, right? That's an incredibly useful thing when you're explaining something, because I have a tendency to ramble, and if nobody is giving me any sort of feedback, I'll just keep talking and talking and talking. I need a few students to have that puzzled look, or to just be like, oh yeah, and just have that, like that sudden I get it kind of thing. So so between Google Meets and all the other things I use, all of it's an attempt to sort of recreate a in-person environment, just in a virtual setting.
I noticed when we talked a little while ago, you talked a little bit about how you were reviewing for test. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so this is, I mean, I've done this one, actually almost all of these tools I use in person too. Which was really nice to be able to throw them in a virtual environment. But one of the ones that has a lot of good feedback is this Jeopardy game. I didn't build it; it's somebody else did, so I'm definitely stealing their skills. But it uses like Visual Basic and macros and stuff. So you build build a PowerPoint, a Jeopardy game using this Excel sheet, so you can like put all your questions and answers in, point values and categories and that sort of thing. But it's more interactive than some of the really basic ones, so you can click and it jumps to the right question, so they can go through and select a category. It even has a function for keeping score. So as they answer questions right, you can mark that the blue team got the question right, or got it wrong, and so they lose points. And so students get really hyper competitive over that. It's really weird. There's no like bonus points or anything. It's just for review, and they're like super like, that was our 300 points, or can we get half credit for that? And
what other tech tools are you using besides the ones you've just mentioned?
So Poll Everywhere is probably the biggest one for this, and that's it's really nice because it actually builds into PowerPoint. And what they do is they use their phones, or again, another tab, anything web-based, and they can punch in answers. So it can be multiple choice, A, B, C, D. There's word clouds. There are clickable images. There are like just scrolling. They can type an open-ended response. And this is really nice, especially for those students that won't use their mic. They're mic shy. So they can all answer questions. I can see how many people are answering. I can get percentages, or total counts of people answering each one. So I can see how many people aren't quite getting an answer. It again prevents that one person from constantly answering every single question. I've been using it a lot lately to just sort of check in. So at the beginning of class, I'll just say, "What did you do fun this weekend?" Because everyone's starting to get a little something at this point. What, like 5 weeks or so into the stay-at-home orders?
One of the things that I think people are having a hard time with is, how do we assess? Have your assessments changed, and how are you doing it?
They have. So the thing that's consistent is most of my assignments have been turned in on Moodle, right? So I've been grading digitally and stuff for a while, so that didn't change. The big thing has been tests, exams, and actually right now I just set out one today, so they're taking their exam today. And I struggle with, and I continue to have conversations with folks about academic honesty and how do you truly assess their knowledge of something. It's one thing to do an in-person exam with multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blank, and that sort of thing. I don't like doing that, or I don't do that in a digital setting. So what I've gone to for the most part for exams are take-home essay style. And I try to write the questions in a way that, even if they are looking at their notes, they're articulating answers, working on an answer. They're a beast to grade, but I feel that they do get at their knowledge a bit better, at least in these circumstances.
And to talk to students from your classes right now, what would you like them to say about how the courses are going and about you?
I hope that they say that they're going well. I hope that they say that things are flexible and they don't feel pressured. They can focus on the content, and all the other things that are going on don't add to that stress. I hope that they say that they have, that whatever I'm offering is meeting their needs, as I realize students learn just differently, right? Everybody kind of learns differently. And so I'm providing those different opportunities, and that they can take advantage of what works best for them. And I hope that they're just enjoying it, really. I just hope that they're still learning things, and that despite having shifted to this online and at-home environment, that they're still feeling prepared, so that when they go on to genetics and other biology courses, that this little hiccup, which is probably an understatement, doesn't under-prepare them, or that they don't feel at a disadvantage, going down the line.
Well, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate what you're doing to elevate learning. So to share these triumphs at St. Norbert College is a great thing, and hopefully others will be able to share some more as well. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.